Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host of the station. Folks, I always have phenomenal guests on. Today, I have on with me Marilyn Sutherland, who is back for the third time. They say the third time's the charm. And Marilyn is so exceptional in what she does. Marilyn is author and writer of the book, Why Did You Load the Dishwasher Like That? 9 Whopping Mistakes That Push Love Away. Marilyn is also a transformational relationship and communication coach at loveleadconnect.com. And she is also trained in presence-based coaching and is a certified source leader and being certified as a positive intelligence coach. Marilyn got married at the age of 49 for the first time. And the topic today is Dead and Stuck, from saboteur to sage, breaking old patterns that create negative emotions. Wow, I can't wait to hear this. I want to welcome Marilyn Sutherland to Chatting with Betsy. Welcome back, Marilyn.
Thank you, Betsy. Yeah, I'm really excited about this topic, too.
Yeah, because you know what, Marilyn? I see, it's funny because I can't figure out Instagram for myself, but I like to watch people on Instagram, and there's a lot now. There's so much now about breaking old patterns and getting rid of negative emotions. And I'm actually working on that in my own life. So I can't wait to hear, what you have to say, because don't we, it's like human nature, we go to the same thing, the same way of thinking and the same pattern, which doesn't necessarily benefit us, and we need to change it, don't we?
Yes. And, it's funny that you said that, because we keep reacting the same way often, even when we don't want to, even when we're trying not to. But still,
yeah.
Boom, something happens, and we're in that pathway. And, they talk about neural pathways in your brain. And that's actually what they are. It's kind of like grooves in your brain. And we've been practicing and doing the same thing so much, there's an automatic groove. If you feel afraid, you might say certain things. I've been trying to break myself from swearing when I drop my phone. And I haven't been able to do that consistently. A swear word comes out. I even talk to myself sometimes. That's one of the places where I haven't been able to do that. But most of the time, I'm better and better.
I talk to myself. As a matter of fact, people who listen to my show know I talked about that I'm seeing a psychologist for caregiver post-traumatic stress, but also from childhood trauma and anxiety. And I realized lately that I am an overthinker, and I do have high anxiety. Like, I'm going to get my chimney redone a couple of weeks. And, Marilyn, I go into this habit of overthinking of what can go wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, what happens if they fall off the roof? What happens with this? What happens with that? And I asked the psychologist, I said, how do I stop this? I want to stop it. I can't stand it. I can't stand myself when I just get out of control with anxiety like that. And maybe you could suggest something, but he told me, go think of the positive. Why did you hire them? Why did you pick this company? And it is stressful getting work done on your house. He says, but you have to think about, that we're confident in picking them. And, we can't control what happens.
Right. So, so one of the things that I'm going to talk about, here's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about how we sabotage ourselves. And there's actually, we all have a judge. We all judge ourselves, judge others, and judge circumstances. That's human being. And, that's kind of programmed in from, caveman days. We had to survive. So we had to be alert and aware and hypervigilant. Where is the tiger? Where is the bear? So the thing is, though, that most of the time we're not going to be confronting a bear or a tiger or anything. We are worried, is a workman going to be okay? Or what if they make a mistake? And stuff happens, sometimes no fault of theirs. But if we're in a reaction mode and it's from fear, we cannot think clearly. And that's what's so important. And this positive intelligence body of work that I've been using is so powerful because it's actually not that hard to begin the shift, to instead of reacting and being in fear, to be in sage mode, sage brain, where you are curious and creative and calm, so we can figure things out. Like, what could I do that would really make a difference here? Or what conversation could I have? And or how could I calm myself? We have so much knowledge, but we don't do it when we're in fear mode. We're just in reaction, and we often revert to kind of childhood patterns of reaction.
Yes.
So one thing I do want to say is I'm not a psychologist. I studied psychology. I have an undergrad in psychology, but I am not a therapist or a psychologist. But I have been doing work my whole life from the early 80s when I worked in corporate. I coached leaders in how to get along with their clients. And these were multi-million-dollar projects, and the leaders would try to dominate the customer. These were big government contracts, and the customers would want to fire IBM. That's who I worked for at the time. They were mad because the leaders, the project managers, wouldn't listen. And so I've been doing this for a long time, and it's rampant everywhere. And if we can get in our sage brain instead of in our saboteur brain, miracles can happen. And it takes something, but it's not going to take 30, 40, 50 years. I've seen people shift in a couple weeks where they have a revelation and the anxiety level they had drops. I'm not saying it goes away, but just in a couple weeks, that's incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I would like to know more about that because I realized, after caregiving, after Matt died, your adrenaline as a caregiver is so high. I call it like red alert, right? And when I look back, Marilyn, at the stress that I was under, I'm thankful I'm alive and healthy, actually. But for your body to come back down from that and to readjust is very hard. And then learning and, realizing now that my childhood trauma has affected me in through adulthood, even at the age of, I'll be 66 in December, and I still have to deal with the effects and work on it every day. Because when you are in a abusive environment, I guess you just condition yourself. Okay, I'm going to get blamed for something, so you get anxious. And I had anxiety as a child, but we didn't talk about it back then, so I didn't know what it was.
Right.
But now I realize I always was anxious. I just didn't know it because we didn't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. So I'm excited, and stop me because I can just be on a roll. I have a lot to say.
Oh, go ahead. So with someone like me, I'll use me as an example because I'm nosy. I want to know how it could help me to get into a sage brain when I go crazy with anxiety.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to say is, I wrote my book in 2019, and I talked about the 9 whopping mistakes. This book that Shirzad Chamine wrote called Positive Intelligence came out in 2012. And when I found out about this body of work, first of all, I was so excited because he had done a lot of research, and I had more of my own experience. Of course, I researched, but I didn't spend, I don't know how long he did it, months, years, I don't know, researching all this stuff. And it really validated the work that I did. But he has this gamified app, and it has you practice, if you just like 12, 15 minutes a day, every day, if you practice, in a couple weeks, you're shifting. It's incredible how stuck we are. And yet when we start to focus on shifting our patterns, and we do it not from survival, but from love and playfulness and curiosity, how quickly we change. And I want to share something that I think relates to the story that you told. A friend of mine had a fire in her house, and I think it was 4 years ago. I was thinking it was 2, but she recently said something. This has been going on for 4 years. Anyway, she's now back in the house, but she has a lawsuit now with the first guy who was rebuilding the house. She had to fire him, and he's suing her now. Anyway, she started a few weeks ago with me, and she hasn't been doing well. She's got a lot of anxiety. It's been very, very difficult. And they were in the house, her and her brother were in the house when the house broke, the fire broke. And they were lucky really to get out. If she hadn't gotten up, she doesn't even know what woke her up, but it didn't seem to be smoke or anything, but they would have died. And that anxiety and fear is, and then this lawsuit is so much stress. And she is already shifting after a few weeks. She's more calm. She hasn't been able to get things done. She was just sharing with me this week. On Sunday, she got up and she just did one thing after another. She did like 8 or 9 different tasks. She said, I haven't done that in years. So, wow, I don't know. It's like there's something that is powerful about this work because it has simple things to practice that you can do in any moment, and I'm going to share that. So what I want to do to start out is just introduce this topic is, so I'm a relationship coach, and I've been doing that since the 80s. And I've coached leaders, and I've coached people in love relationships. I've coached single people how to find love. And one of the things that is so important is that we are aware of ourselves. And Carl Jung said, I love this quote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So we live like we don't have control over ourselves, and we don't when we don't have access to the unconscious. Well, the saboteur material, I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, but it is a brilliant access in to observing yourself with what Shirzad calls blameless discernment. In other words, if we all have a judge and we all have some of these saboteurs, and maybe not all of them are active, but we have 1 or 2 that are more active than others that interfere with our ability to live our best life and be happy. And what's amazing is when you start to focus a little bit, you build momentum. And so the thing about the saboteurs are everyone has a judge, everyone. And then the judge is finding what's wrong with you, yourself, with others, and with circumstances. So if you make a mistake, your judge is going to say either you're bad or this is bad, or others are bad because they contributed to this problem that you have. So everything is bad, but it's not always bad. In fact, it's never bad. It's not what you want. It might not be what you thought would happen, but there is a gift in there. There is something to learn that when you learn it, it will change you. And we can look for the gift and be in a positive mode, or we can stay stuck in fear and anger and frustration. And like, how many times have people been laid off from a job? You get unemployment maybe, hopefully. You find a job and you love it. They treat you better, you make more money, or at least you got away from that job and now you can find something else. Or you're in the marriage, you thought your marriage was perfect, and then it didn't go well and you got a divorce and you think you're never going to have love again. And then how many people do fall in love and find a great partner?
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's true.
The thing that I found, I never wanted to get married. I wanted a committed relationship. I didn't want to get married. I don't know. My dad was a good man, but I didn't think he wasn't affectionate or expressive, and my mom was, and I always felt like she didn't get the love she wanted, and it made me sad. So, when I was younger, I made a decision I don't want to get married. But the thing that I found, I loved being single. I could do whatever I wanted. I traveled a lot. I had a lot of friends. I was really happy. I didn't have to do the dishes and do stuff in the house if I didn't want to. I could leave the dishes in the sink. Nobody was going to say, "Hey, are you going to do the dishes?" And when I would date guys, I would say, "Look, I'm not a maid or a cook. I'm a partner." Because at some point I wasn't going to have kids. So it was like, hey, if that's what you want, great. If not, great. No problem. Because I didn't have any expectations. So,
right.
So when I found my husband, when I found him and he clicked all the boxes for real, we talked every night for 2-3 hours for like 7 months. And then, I decided to move across country and get married. I'd never met a man that treated me that way. So it's interesting. All those times, and before I actually had peace with being single, I was like, am I ever going to find love? Am I ever going to find love? And I gave that up. When I gave that up, I was so happy. So anyway, there are ways that, let me talk about the saboteurs. So
yes, because I know I sabotage myself.
Yeah. So here I'm going to go through the list and just talk about them briefly. And if you're listening to this, you can just make a note. If you hear something like, "Oh, I think that might be me," that's okay. You could make a note. But I'm going to give you a link to take a saboteur assessment at the end of the call. And if you want, you can book a call with me, and we can talk about the challenges you have and how the saboteurs that you rated higher when you answered it, how they impact you. In a way, it doesn't matter what they are. They're all the same. They all undermine you, block you from having the love and joy and happiness that you want because they're trying to keep you safe. But we don't need to be safe anymore like that. So here's the first one, controller. This is one of my top ones. So the lie is, if I control the situation, it will go my way. And it's an anxiety-based need to take charge and control of the situation and get others to do it your way. And when you aren't in control or you can't get others to do what you want, you have anxiety and impatience. And then the other people who are being controlled are resentful, feel disrespected, and often disengage. This can be a problem with parenting or teachers in the business world. If you've got a boss who you have to do it their way or the highway, nightmare. So
yes,
that is one way. And recently I made a suggestion to my husband. And I was like, "Honey, I really think you should do this now while you're thinking about it." And he looked at me and he said, "I think that's your controller." I'm like, ow, you're not supposed to use that on me. He's in my program that I'm leading now. And but I said, but you're right. I'm sorry. And I apologized because he's a grown man. I don't need to tell him what to do. I can make a suggestion, but I really thought it would be better if he did it when I said, but but he didn't. So here's the next one, hyperachiever. So the lie is, life is about achieving and producing results. Feelings are a distraction. This is the way that we become workaholics. We focus on external validation, getting attention and acceptance from others, being the best, being smart, top of your class, best salesperson. And it depends on constant performance and achievement for you to have self-respect and self-validation. It's exhausting. And you're afraid if you're not perfect, you're going to be rejected. And then you lose touch with your deeper feelings, what you really want to do. So the job you loved when you started, it's killing you now. But you can't leave because you're good at it. You're great at it. And often, when parents praised us as kids, oh, my God, you got all A's. I'm so proud of you. Well, did they say that when you had B's? Probably not. So that's one way you learn. You got to be the best.
Well, good point.
Yeah, and it's about being accepted. Restless. So restless is when you skip from one thing to another. It can feel like ADHD or you're constantly busy, but you can't focus because you're bored, and you don't want to be bored, and you want excitement. You want the next shiny object, the next best thing. And it can be a way of escaping from the fears and anxieties and painful feelings. So you might be working on a project, and you're not sure what to do, and instead of pushing through or taking a break or going and talking to someone and brainstorming, you go do something else. And then you don't get back to your project. Now you're running late. Now you're really have anxiety. But you're always going and busy. So that's restless. That's another one of mine. Stickler. So the lie is, if I do what's right and in control, I won't be judged. Well, that means you have to be perfect. Things have to be in a certain order and an organization, but it's perfectionism and it's taken too far. And you're sensitive to criticism, and you're also highly critical of others. I can't believe they didn't do that. Like, it was well written, yes, but did you see all the typos in that? I would never do that. They should be ashamed. They're educated. And it can come from, all of these things can come from your childhood in some way. There's some family dynamic that didn't work. So in a chaotic family, if you could bring order, that could bring a sense of order. That could help calm the family down. And if you're an irreproachable kid, that could be how you get attention from your parents when they're demanding or emotionally distant. Be perfect. Yeah, did you want to say something?
Yeah, this is interesting, Marilyn, because I see myself in the controller and the stickler. I definitely see those two for sure. I didn't realize until, my adulthood that I am a control freak. And I like to be in control, and I don't feel comfortable if I'm not in control. Now, I don't know when I became that way, but I feel that is how I feel, now at this point in my life, and that's why I get anxiety of situations where I have no control. So I'm realizing that about myself now. So I'm definitely more self-aware of myself.
Yeah, and to have compassion. One of the things I'm going to talk about when we talk about, so this is about going from saboteur to sage. When you're in sage mode, you have a lot of empathy and compassion for yourself and for others. And I've been saying for years, everyone is wounded. We all have wounds. Nobody had perfect parents. And even if your parents were perfect, if you're not perfect, you can't be like them and measure up. Then you worried they wouldn't love you. So there's no winning in the game. But, I'm thinking caregiving and having to really be on top of stuff. You need to be a stickler. Did I give him the right medicine? Yeah. Oh, when's the doctor's appointment? All the things that you're trying to control to keep your partner safe and alive. That's a big deal. And it's a big burden to have that responsibility. And we take it all in.
Yes, yeah. And that's true. And the control, because I couldn't control how hospice was, but they sure heard about how unhappy I was. They heard it from me. So I guess I am a stickler like that. But
yeah,
you're right. You have to, when you're responsible for someone, it is like you want things a certain way, and you know how your loved one is. So, but I think I was a stickler before that. So,
yeah. The other thing that I want to say is that there is a way of doing things like giving your partner full care, but not being in fear. You can do it from love and from care and with calmness, or we can do it from agitation. So that's the goal. It's not like you can't, try to do things the best way for what they like. But if you're trying to enroll people in it, like, the hospice workers, you can enroll them from, hey, this is what he would like. And I'd really appreciate it if you did it that way. And when they do say, oh, thank you, that was so kind that you did that the way that I asked. I really appreciate it. And praise them. Then they'll want to do it again because they want to please you. But if we criticize them, nobody likes to be criticized. But that's what we do. Well, women come to me all the time when it comes to relationships. And they say, how do I get my man to listen? Well, it's like, stop criticizing him and tell him thank you when he does something you like. If they can't win with you, they give up.
Yes, I've heard that from other. It's funny you said that because I've heard that from actually a man talking about relationships and him saying the same thing. I've heard that from a lot of different people. You constantly criticize your partner, whether, husband versus wife or wife versus husband or whatever your situation is. No one wants to hear constant criticism. You just turn off. At that point, you just turn yourself off.
Yeah. So the next one I want to do is the pleaser, and that's the opposite of what we've just been talking about. So the pleaser's lie is others won't like you if you don't take care of their needs. And most women, not all women, but most women are trained to be pleasers one way or another. If you're a mother, a good mother takes care of her kids. If there's one bite of food left, she'll feed it to her child, not eat it herself. Mm-hmm. So that you give and give and give. The problem is then you're resentful. And a lot of women, in fact, most people don't know how to make clear requests. So if you don't know how to ask for what you want and you think they should know, well, you've trained them. It doesn't matter what you want. So they don't, because you've trained, I'll just give and give and give. I'm here for you. And they are like, wow, that's wonderful. Thank you, Mom. Or thank you, boss. And then you don't get your needs met. And one of the problems, too, is sometimes parents will demand that you do certain things. Like you don't feel comfortable with your uncle. He's too affectionate. Who knows? Maybe he's, inappropriate. But and you say, I don't like him. I don't like when he hugs me. And your parents say, you have to hug him and tell him you love him. So you have learned that what you feel and think and like, it doesn't matter. I know what you want. I know what's best for you. So a lot of times when women start to wake up, I need to take care of myself. Men too, because there's men pleasers too. I don't want to make it sound like there's not. But when a pleaser finally realizes I have a right to ask for something and you say, what do you want? They go, I don't know. I don't know. What kind of food do you like? I don't know. What kind of food do you like? No, what do you like? I don't know. I eat whatever everyone else wants. So
yes, yeah. And I think also, Marilyn, that, and I've heard this, that a lot of people pleasers were abused, like had some kind of abuse at home and would try to, please the people in their life to have some peace, to have some approval. Oh, if I do this, maybe mom and dad will like me. Or if I do this, maybe, this guy will like me, or this girl, or whatever the case is.
Yes.
And that's really, and I'm learning this. I wish we could go through life twice knowing what we know the first time around.
I don't know. Maybe we do. We just don't know it.
Because I'll tell you what, it's I'm learning more now in my 60s. I wish I knew this 40 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's true of a lot of people. Yeah, otherwise you're just kind of surviving life, trying to make everything happen. So the next one is the hypervigilant. So the lie is you must be aware of potential danger at all times to be safe. So that sounded a little bit like what you were sharing at the beginning about, like with the roof, like what could go wrong. And, so it's continuous intense anxiety about all the dangers and what could go wrong. And your vigilance can never rest. And the belief is the life is full of danger, but this is a hard way to live. Now, I'm Jewish, and one of the conversations I grew up with that it was kind of a joke that Jewish comedians would tell is, "Oi, when is the other shoe going to drop?" Really?
I'm Jewish
really,
too.
So it's like if you're in a culture where there was fear, people were killed because of their religion or your color or whatever, then there is a need for hypervigilance. And I hear that in the Black community. Oh, my God, I thought if you have a young Black son and he's got some spunk and rebelliousness, you just, parents will tell them. I've heard some Gabrielle Union talked about how they would talk to their son about, hey, if you are stopped by the police, you are respectful because you never know. So there are times when hypervigilance is important, but not in our everyday lives.
Right.
And it comes often from childhood experiences where parents were unpredictable and unreliable, and you never knew. So you had to be aware, and even if you couldn't protect yourself, steel yourself if you were going to get hit or something out of nowhere. So that's hypervigilant. Another one is avoider. So the lie is no good comes from conflict. So they avoid anything that is unpleasant, could be negative, any situation that could get out of control, and there could be a conflict. So if someone says something to them, they don't say anything back. They don't want to start a fight. So things never get worked out. And I have a client now who I was so proud of her. She had a conflict with her two daughters, and she hasn't talked to them in a while, and she was so angry when she hired me. She was so angry. And I said, you can't talk to them until the anger's gone. But she avoided saying anything because she didn't know what to say. And I said, but when you have the conversation, you have to be able to come from sage, from love. And whatever they say, however angry they are wounded. You have to bring empathy to them. And she after a couple weeks in the program, she said, you know what I'm learning? That I don't listen. She realized that, not just with her daughters, but with her coworkers, her boss, her friends. She doesn't listen. I thought that was incredible.
It is.
Yeah. Now she doesn't. She's to the point now where she's ready to start working on how is she going to reconnect with her daughters. And we're going to live in the sage mode for that, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But first of all, yeah, if you're an avoider and you don't want to have conflict, you can't resolve anything. You're afraid. You have to be and if you were in a family with high conflict and tension, you may have become the peacemaker, or you learn not to add any other problems on top of what was already there. To try to be the good kid, and not be a burden on your parents. Yeah. Victim. So this one is, the lie is you must be a victim or you won't be seen, loved, and saved. I don't know where that comes from, but it might have been from the olden days when, the woman was like, save me, I need to be saved. And the hero would come in and snatch her off the train tracks where she was tied down or something. But that is a way that you never can have happiness if you're a victim. If that's how you live, you cannot be happy, because the only way you can be get seen, loved, and saved is if you are trying to get attention and affection by focusing on internal feelings, particularly painful ones, or you're a martyr. Oh, I work so hard. I'm so tired. And you have to stay stuck in that pattern, or you can't. Well, they all have to get stuck in their pattern, but that one, it's really hard to break out. You have to be willing to own that you have been using that to get love and attention. And now start to step up and own your life. You get to be the one that says what happens, not wait for other people to save you.
Oh, that's true.
And then the last, go
that's amazing. You know what, Meryl? I have to. It must be meant, because you were like the fourth guest that is saying the same, thing about like we choose to be victims. That's something that we choose, and you don't have to choose to be a victim. And people need to realize that you can get out of that.
And it's so hard when you're in it, because it feels like you have no choice. I remember when I was younger. That isn't a major part of my personality now, but I remember when I was younger, there were times when somebody, I don't remember the situation, but somebody said to me, "You're like poor Patty." I'm like, what? He says, "Yeah, you're like pity me." Or pitiful Patty. Maybe that was what he said, pitiful Patty. I remember that. I don't remember what I did, but that was like, whoa, I don't want to be pitiful Patty, so I'm not going to stay in that mode. But yeah, it feels like when you're in it. And when stuff happens, that's really shocking. Like, your house in a fire, or your kids turn on you, or your partner has, some kind of a horrible disease and you're watching them slip away. Like, my God, you have no control over that. Like, well, of course, that's what I would say as a controller. But, yeah, it feels like there's nothing you can do, but you don't have to go to control. So let me talk about the last one, hyper-rational. So hyper-rational, the lie is the rational mind is best. Avoid emotional turmoil and chaos. It's safe. And they don't know how to process relationships, so they just don't feel, and they push it away. So people perceive them as cold, distant, or intellectually arrogant. And it might have been a good survival strategy when you're a kid and there was so much emotional turmoil. You just shut down and you were just organized and logical, so you'd have a sense of security. It makes perfect sense. But as an adult, if you want to have connections with people, you can't be always in the logical mind. You have to be open-hearted and feel things. And people don't want to be with you if you are shut down emotionally, unless they're like that. And then that's a good relationship. But I know people who have been in a relationship like that, and it works, but it doesn't really feed your soul. So those are the 9 saboteurs: controller, hyperachiever, restless, stickler, pleaser, hypervigilant, avoider, victim, and hyperrational. Now, in the end, they're all the same. Different lie, different behaviors, all trying to survive fear of being alive. One's not better than the other. You're like, oh, if only I had the hyper-rational one. Oh, that sounds better. I'd be logical. I'm so confused about stuff. That'd be so great to be logical. Not if you're hyper-rational, it's not. Then you can never feel anything. That's not good either. So none is better than the other. And we have to have compassion because we have these patterns in us. When you can see them, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. So there's 3 core muscles of positive intelligence. And we call this mental fitness. When you are practicing positive intelligence, mental fitness is handling life's challenges with a more positive mindset and way less stress. So here's the 3 muscles. The saboteur interceptor. That's the one that recognizes when you're in a saboteur mode and your brain's running the show. You can feel the agitation, maybe your heart's pounding. Betsy, where do you feel the anxiety when you feel it? Is there a particular part of your body or anything?
I feel it in my chest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my
Me
head.
too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel it in my hands. If I'm like, my hands are kind of fisted or I don't know. Sometimes I have a fluttering. Sometimes it's tension. But wherever you feel it, when you know what it feels like, then you've intercepted the saboteur. You say, I see you, saboteur. You may not actually say that. But you could also say, wow, I'm really trying to control this situation. Or, wow, why does this have to be perfect? It's a sign for a yard sale that's over in 2 hours. I just need to find a box and write it on a box and put it on the table. I don't need to have a beautiful sign that's going to take me an hour. So we begin to see it. We can have compassion for it. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we just write it up. And so once we've seen it, now we need to stop the pattern. And how do you do that? You drop into your body. And you focus on using one of your 5 senses. And I'll give you an example. Think of something that makes you a little anxious, just a little anxious. And feel the feeling of it in your body. Be in your stomach, your hands. And now take your pointer finger, your first finger, and your thumb, and lightly and slowly rub them together and feel the ridges in your finger. And keep doing it slow, nice and slow. Can you feel any ridges in your finger? So right now, if you are feeling what you're feeling, you are not in your saboteur. And that's like, it's like, whoa. So that's a PQ rep. So when you do a PQ rep, you do it for at least 10 seconds. I usually do it longer. You don't have to do it for an hour. You can do it for 30 seconds or a minute until you calm down. And then you can switch to sage. So sage, we have moments of sage in our lives, but we haven't really built the muscles for sage. And the sage has 5 powers. And sage is how you handle the challenges with a clear, calm, curious mind and positive emotions. So if we're freaked out and we got to figure out, what do I do right now? If you're in saboteur mode, you cannot think clearly. But if you can get yourself, if you can stop, feel your feet on the floor, take some deep breaths, slow down for a minute, rub your fingers together. That's a great one to do. You can do that when you're in a meeting and someone just, attacked you for your idea at the business meeting. You can just feel your fingers and say, wow, you seem so angry about that. I'm sorry. Why does that upset you? Or it seems like you're upset or something. But you can have compassion and curiosity. help me understand why you're angry. I don't know. I want us to work together. We're a team. So, but you can't do that when someone's attacking you and you're just like, shut up. You're rude. That doesn't work either. So anyway, here's the 5 powers. Empathize. I'm going to name them, and then I'm going to say a sentence about each of them or 2. Explore, innovate, navigate, and activate. So start with empathize. So you're in a meeting or you're having a conversation with someone you love, and they criticize you, and you feel like you're attacked. If you could see the beautiful human being in yourself and others and have compassion for them and you, that's so important. If it's someone you know and love, remember that this is someone you love. Or think about their baby picture or your baby picture, the preciousness that you are. Or just have compassion. We're all wounded. It's like, honey, why are you so upset? Like, I'm sorry. What is going on? Are you upset about something? And maybe they'll tell you. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't even know. Just say, well, I'd like to talk. Let's talk about this when we're both calm, okay? But you want to have that empathy. And most of us, we're more empathetic to someone else than we are to ourselves. So that is so important. That self-love that everybody talks about, it's important. If you don't love yourself, you can't even let love in.
That's true.
And what someone else is upset about generally has nothing to do with you. Well, it really never does. But maybe you said something and it had an edge to it and they reacted to that. Then you want to understand why they reacted that way. That can now bring in explore with curiosity and fascination rather than the judge's negativity. You want to understand what's happening. So you're empathetic, and you also want to understand what's happening. Be curious. And you want to listen to see what are the subtle signals that other people are sending. And you want to understand with no blame. There is no blame in SAGE. Everyone's doing their best. You just want to understand. And then the next one is innovate. So now what are we going to do about it? So sometimes, we think that people are wrong about how they're acting and reacting. And the innovate, one of the rules is the other person is at least 10% right. So if you're having a conversation with someone and you're trying to figure out a solution and you think they're an idiot, they're way off base. You got to find where is the 10% right. When you start to search for that, you could then say, yeah, I don't think they understand the problem, but their idea is good, that we need to have a meeting about that. I like that idea. Then you could say, I like your idea about having a meeting. You don't like anything else maybe, but you like that. That's a place to start. And you keep looking for what can I agree with? What can I say yes to? And then when they see that's the game, and you set the rules like that when you're brainstorming, then you start to fuel the ability to create new ideas. SAGE focuses on what's right. Saboteur focuses on what's wrong. So you always want to be in SAGE mode when you're creating. And then say you've come up with ideas. How do you know which path to choose? That's the navigate power. So you really need to tune into yourself. What are your values, your purpose, what's needed, what difference do you want to make? And then you have to have trust in yourself, and that's something that a lot of us don't have, but we build that. And if we make a mistake and we realize it, we can go back and make another choice. We're not stuck with anything. Unless you're having your house rebuilt and they tear it down, then you're stuck with. That's one thing. Yeah. But mostly it's not all or nothing. And then activate is the last one. So you empathize, explore, innovate, navigate, and activate. And activating is taking action with a clear mind and laser focus. When you are in SAGE brain, you have clarity about what to do. And you can anticipate how your saboteurs are going to interfere with your plan and prepare for that. You're going to know, like, oh, yeah, you're going to start doing that. Restless is probably going to kick in and keep you really busy doing stuff. Or stickler, you're probably going to rearrange the cupboards. You've been wanting to do that and you never get to it. That would be a good time when your saboteur is going to say, we need to rearrange the pantry. I can't find anything here. No, go back, sit down, and keep working on your plan. You can do it in an hour. So that's some of the powers of the powers of the sage brain. And there's a whole lot more to that, of course, but it's about calming yourself down, getting in sage mode, and then using those powers, and also looking for the gift in what's happening or the opportunity. Some things don't feel like a gift when somebody dies, and or there's an unexpected accident. But if you can find what is the blessing in that, or it could have been worse even. My God, it's a good thing they only lost a finger and not their whole hand. And live in the gratitude. Gratitude brings happiness.
True.
So, anything you want to say about that?
Well, that is awesome. Yes, that is awesome, Marilyn. There is a lot, but our time is up. But you gave such great information, wonderful information. I mean, I could have a whole show on the sage part, and discussing if you like in the future, because you really have very good information. How do people connect with you? Do they go to loveleadconnect.com?
Well, actually, they can definitely do that. And if people want, I do have one little question, fill-in sentence. The answer to how are your saboteurs born, you fill in this sentence. To survive and succeed, I should, fill in the blank. Be good, be nice, stay out of trouble, help others, dominate others, be smart, whatever. And that gives you a clue to your saboteurs. If that's how they're born as a child, it's that simple. Be nice. Be nice. And then you're nice to people who are mean to you. But that gives you a clue. So if you want to answer that, you can go to my website, loveleadconnect.com, and lead is like leader. And so loveleadconnect.com, go to the contact and send me a message and tell me you were on the show. And you watched listen to the show. Sorry, not watch, listen to the show. And share with me what you saw. And if you want to take the saboteur assessment, you go to positiveintelligence.com/saboteurs. And click on the button, Discover Your Saboteurs. It takes 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes most. Don't think about it, just answer it. And then you'll get an email, and then you'll forward the email to me. And my email is marilyn@loveleadconnect.com. And Betsy, are you going to write that up in the notes? Yeah. So Betsy will have, that'll be written. If you don't get the email, let me know, and I'll contact support. And then I'm going to give her a link to schedule a call with me. And if you want, and I highly recommend it, we can get on a call. It'll be up to an hour, and we can talk about the challenges that you have in your life, and we can see the connections with your saboteurs. And then if you want to work with me, fabulous. If you don't want to work with me, fabulous. I don't care. I mean, of course, I'd love for people to work with me, but you don't have to. If you can explore things on your own, but knowing your saboteurs and not beating yourself up about it will be a big step to having more happiness in your life. And that's what I'm committed to.
Wow, a wealth of information. That's why I love having people on. That's why I love doing this show, to have people on like Marilyn Sutherland, who is a wonderful resource to help you have a better life. And that's what my show is about, is helping people. And I want to thank you, Marilyn, for coming on with your wealth of information. And lot to audience to think about, and highly recommend when the show is posted, you read the blog. The information about Marilyn and all that she does will be in the blog. And Jeannie White, who's station manager, writes the blog and produces the show. So I thank Jeannie for that. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And folks, if you don't already subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, what are you waiting for? It's for free. It's on Spotify, Spreaker, iHeart, YouTube. You could hear phenomenal guests that will help you have a better life. And I have great, phenomenal guests on if I got to toot my own horn. So I will. And too, because I do have great guests. And I learn a lot from my guests. I really do. And I'm becoming more self-aware because of the guests that I have had on the show, which is really phenomenal. And I just I'm blessed to be able to do this show and meet the wonderful people that I do meet. And I really want to highly recommend for people to go on your website. And where can they buy your book, Marilyn? Why Did You Load the Dishwasher Like That?
Amazon. It's a Kindle book, so they can go to Amazon and download it immediately and start reading.
Oh, very good. And I just want to thank you again, Marilyn Sutherland, for coming on. It was great talking to you. I could talk to you for another 2 hours.
Thank you, Betsy. What I love about
you're welcome.
You is that you're curious. You're in sage mode when you're interviewing. You're not in saboteur mode, and that's beautiful. You're curious, and you're open, and you're a great example of how to learn and grow.
Thank you. And you're never too old, folks.
Nope.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marilyn. And folks, as you know, you can follow me on Facebook, Betsy, B-E-T-S-Y, middle initial E, last name Wurzel, W-U-R-Z-E-L. And that's what I have to say. And as you know, as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you could be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright. Because if we all did that, it would be a much kinder, brighter world. And that's what I believe. Till we chat again, be safe, be kind, shine bright. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Bye-bye now.